So thank you so much, Catherine, for coming on and being a part of our Setsi YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all that you do, your remarkable work, and we can't wait to hear. So I'm going to open up, as we always begin all of our meetings, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, and learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So if you can please do us the honor by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your remarkable work.
Okay, well, my name is Catherine Rocheleau, and I run a business called Ignite Leadership International. I'm based out of Victoria, British Columbia in Canada, and I work with business owners, leaders in sort of primarily small to medium-sized businesses, as well as some corporations around the globe. It's not geographic specific, but what my passion is really on helping workplaces, the leaders within those workplaces, to be great places to work, where the people that work there feel engaged, heard, acknowledged, as well as finding ways of improving the things that we find challenging, whether that is something that is in a system that we have that is inherently just misguiding, or if it's something that we want to be improving. So sometimes it's just our own skill set or our own abilities that can come in the way of being better leaders, better communicators, better relationship builders. And so my goal is that I have, through either coaching, consulting, or training approaches, have an option to be able to pull people together to make the workplace as positive as we possibly can, so that we get the best out of it, because so many of hours of our day are spent working. And so I think, how do we make that time for all of us in a two-way approach that works, and then ultimately provides what I call a triple win. So I use the triangle as my symbol for a triple win. And that means it's a win for you, it's a win for me, and it's a win for the organization if you're at work. But if it's not at work, it may be the community, it may be the team, but also two players, or an outside or entity, plus a person or group of people, plus another entity. And so I always say there's ways that we can find triple wins. And when we do that, then our social, environmental, and governance impact actually really, really works. And so that's where we can pull the ESGs in. We can really make the world a better place. And it's really, I believe and stand behind, that we as businesses have the opportunity to change the world through business by changing how business is done. And I think this is the best way of doing so.
Well, that's amazing. It really makes a difference, and it makes an impact in the workspace when, there's really that really good collaboration amongst, businesses and organizations that come in and say, hey, we can do better. We can have a better outcome in the workspace. And oh man, I appreciate that so much.
No problem.
And if you can tell us your personal mission and vision for us.
Okay, well, my personal mission is to be the best that I can be for everybody in my life as well as in my work, and that I try to live my values. I work, which primarily are things like leadership, communication, family, relationships, and also fairness and integrity. So fairness and integrity kind of match. And I always say, when integrity is lost, the rest can't happen. And so those are the areas that I focus on personally. And then my business is not that far different. And continual improvement is part of my business values, because I believe that things constantly change. we constantly change. The world around us constantly changes. So we have to continually learn and adapt and get better at doing what we do. So we may not have been good before, but we can be good. And my mission for my company is that I want to see that every organization is profitable, is a great place to work, and makes a positive impact in the world through the organization itself. And I do believe that we have that ability, and it's just a way of doing it. So that sort of follows on where I stand personally, as well as where I stand professionally.
Wonderful. That sounds amazing. And what inspires you most about your current work?
I love to see people flourish. That inspires me all the time. So when I work with someone, especially as a coach, I'm there to help bring out the best in them, to help them be their best, and to make a difference. And when I see that happening, then that makes me always feel good. And I just know that they've learned, they've applied, and they've sort of learned, or they've sort of acknowledged the responses. And I always say that that's the most. So, being a change agent, being somebody who will help people navigate that tumultuous travel of transition, no matter what that's in, helping people to learn is always something that just reinforces what it is. So when I know that I've helped somebody, when they've learned something, when they've applied it, and then they reap the rewards, I always go, okay, that was amazing. So everything I like to do, I like to see an outcome. I like to see, be able to measure it and to be able to acknowledge it. But I don't need that necessarily always for me. I'll just do that quietly in the background. But I put everybody else out there. That's what I want, everybody to see what my clients are doing and not necessarily know I'm in the background.
Sound like me. I'm that type of background person too, so I can relate.
Yeah. I just would rather stay in the background. Thank you very much.
That's it. Hey, well, the engine, nobody sees the engine, but it's the main source, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, what challenges and barriers do you face in your current work, and how are you able to overcome them?
I think in my work, I think the biggest challenge that I have with my own work is helping people to understand how what I do and how what I can bring to the table for them will really be a positive impact, but also something that, as if they're a business or an organization, it can have a ripple effect outward that is beyond the cost of what it takes to work with me. So, I always say I want to be an asset, not a liability. Yes, I know there's a cost, and like every business, we all have a cost associated. But to know that when you invest in your people, when you invest in yourself as a leader, that there are positives that ripple out that are eventually measurable, that make a difference, and how these little small things that we do each and every day to be better, to do differently, can make the world so much better for somebody else in a way that we may not even anticipate. And sometimes, when I think of diversity, equity, and inclusion, there are so many times when you could put your foot in your mouth. And if somebody can say to me that doesn't sit well with me, and then I can ask, why, can you please explain that? Then they teach me. Now I don't make that again, and I've made a positive step. When I make a mistake as a leader in communicating with a team member, even if the team member doesn't feel right about telling me what I did wrong. If I sense that something's wrong, then it's up to me to identify what that is in any way I can that is comfortable for them and helps me correct that approach and make it better for them going forward. And I think that's the hardest thing that I have is helping not only myself, but also others to recognize that path. It's not that you're going to be perfect every time. It's that we work together to make it better. And I think that's where collaboration comes in. That's where understanding, learning, all of those things that I value come into play. And I just said, that's where I want to know that I've shared that message and that I can help. I know that I help people in those areas, even when I don't always understand. Like, I know that if I don't understand something, I'm going to go find somebody who does, or I'm going to learn what I need to be able to help the person that I'm working with. So I've learned so much over the years about things that I thought I knew a little bit about and then learned, oh, you still have so much more to learn. And that to me is really important. And then when I see and hear stories, it always, like, I always think, how do we change that narrative? How do we change things so that they're more positive and for everybody? And what steps can I make? And I always look at, what can I do first and foremost? What can I do that can help change that narrative to make it better for somebody else? And if I can look like that and I can help others to do the same, then I think that eventually we will change that narrative. So it's sort of, again, that ripple effect that I talked about earlier.
Exactly, exactly. That totally makes sense, and it aligns with a lot of things that, within the workplace, like you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
um, with inclusion and all that is
Mm-hmm.
is key. And like I said, we always need to update ourselves because things are
Mm-hmm.
always changing. So we have
Yes.
to be consciously aware of those things, and that's
Yeah.
great. You're doing
And
it.
especially when you don't, you think you understand, but then you realize that you probably don't, or you're
Don't.
going in with that preconception, and then you learn something. Well, then it's like, okay, I need to integrate that somehow, some way, quicker than slower. And it's not always easy on both sides. But I believe that that is the step we need to be doing.
Totally. I totally agree. And what do you have a set of key priorities in your work now?
My key priorities, yes, my one of them is to really use my abilities and my skill set to not only build a strong business that is helping others, but to also make sure that I integrate all aspects of social, environmental, and governance sort of components into the way that I operate, not only my business, but also my life. So how can I volunteer appropriately and effectively? How can I help others in a way that maybe is a little bit different? How can I use my business to help others? But I think it's through the words, through the my actions that I'm able to do that. So my priority is to make me and my business um, something that can be an agent of change to help others.
Perfect. Perfect. And what is your ultimate goal, and what does success look like to you?
My ultimate goal, I think if you think about my vision being that every business is profitable, every workplace is a great place to work, and every organization has an impact on the world. It's a humongous vision, and that is my goal. But I have to do it in small steps. And so, how do I make the most impact in the best places to maximize that impact to that end? And so, each goal is and the priorities that I put on those goals is to to find the right clients, the right people within maybe a client group to work with to further that purpose of mine, and to see that become a reality. And to have people feeling comfortable, included, is just part of that. But I always say, really, we all bring different things, and I've always felt that diversity helps organizations. I think we've seen this over and over again, whether it's gender or ethnicity or whatever. It brings so much to the table, and especially here in Canada, because we are so diverse, that you think about it. And I have the honor of teaching, and I often am teaching very diverse group of students with a common background, but they're so diverse, and I love that about that, and the fact that I get to interact with them, and I get to learn different perspectives from people from different countries with different ethnicities, sort of values, everything. And when I can pull that in and use that, so my priority is to learn more and do more as in a positive way going forward.
Beautiful. That's, you're hitting all the main points, because these are all, as we say, touchy subjects,
They are.
things that, and because we're so diverse, it's the broadening of the mind, listening, and
Yeah.
understanding the different cultures and different diversity that comes in, and where
Yeah.
they're at that moment in the workplace, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So yeah, your
Yeah.
line of work is so important.
And one
So
of the things that always I'm always wanting to know is why do you feel that way? Why did that happen? Why? So my question is, like, there's always a question behind the question, and I want to know more about it. And sometimes people are uncomfortable sharing that. And I said, when people can share, we learn, and then together we can hopefully find solutions. And so I always say, if I ask a lot of questions, then it just means that I'm committed to helping somehow, some way, to make a change. And sometimes I'm not going to get it. Like I already recognize that sometimes I'm not going to get it the first time, maybe not the second, but I'm not stopping from trying. And I think that if each of us did that, the world would be a better place.
absolutely, absolutely. Exercising patience. That's what I hear.
Patience and understanding, probably what we all need all the time.
All the time, right? So if I could put this in a word, like, how do you feel about the future of, let's say, social impact in your line of work? How do you feel the future is on it?
I think this is the new way of doing business. I believe that organizations that aren't adopting social impact strategies and initiatives at their core level, not as an add-on, not as a greenwashing type of thing, but at the core of what they do, that those companies are going to do better. They're going to be the places of choice for people to work, and they're going to be the leaders of the future. And other organizations, I think, are going to fall behind. And I think that we need to learn how to differentiate those who are actually walking their talk and those that are putting a spin on what they're doing. So they're saying one thing but doing something different. And I know that there's situations where business and social impact seem to conflict, but there is a way that they can. Yes, because you might lay off people doesn't mean that you didn't value the people. There's things you can do that show them that you valued them, even though you had to let them go. Because sometimes you do have to do that in business, which is unfortunate, but it is true, especially with the way the world changes. So when that happens, how do we pull those two things together and still walk our talk? And so I want to see that happen, is that people walk their talk and that we learn how to understand the difference. But I believe in my work that when I help more businesses to be better stewards of social and, particularly social impact, because that's my area of expertise, is that they're going to be a better organization and therefore a better steward going forward. And they're going to do better than the people who aren't adapting that approach.
That's so true, because I mean, look at the world today. It's changed since 20 years ago, 30 years ago, right? I mean, there's more social media, there's more, anxiety, so that's like, coming into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So as we get more into AI and we're getting more, less and less within a human connectivity in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
there still needs to be that understanding, that relationship
Mm-hmm.
building, and having that impact. And so what you do is so key and so vital because you can change a person's whole, not just day, but whole life just based on the work that you do. So
And
that's
that's what
amazing.
I love to see. I said I've learned that, if I know of so many people who have changed my life over the years by doing things. And I just said, how do I help somebody else to do that? And I'm always thinking like, oh, if I did this, would that be a benefit? Or how can I help? Like I often am heard saying, how can I help? What can I do to help? And sometimes people go, well, I don't need help. Okay, what can I do that is a benefit to you? And so sometimes it's our language that is the wrong language, but how do I make it benefit you somehow that can just lift things up? And so if it's I can be a voice, if I can have the actions, if I can integrate something, then so be it. That's what I need to do. And so it may not directly impact you, it may impact others down the road, but that's okay because that's ultimately getting your message across. So that's what I want, is I want to be able to be that voice or that person that can help get that message out there. And I think show that yes, it is possible.
Awesome. That's amazing. And we appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so we've come to the end. So the last question is, do you have any closing thoughts or any calls to action?
I encourage everybody to look at ways as a leader, as a person, that they can find a way to make a difference that helps everybody. And when you think about the approaches, you don't have to be perfect. You have to be open, coachable, willing to learn, and have that goal, and then just keep being open to the fact that it may have to shift a little bit here and there along the path. And if we can all do that, each and every one of us, towards each and every other person, no matter who we meet or how we meet them, then I think that we ultimately are going to see a massive change. But it's going to be on every side that we need that. And we see it everywhere, and you can just have that. And so you might, some days you might feel like you've got a chip on your shoulder. Okay, how do we chip away at your chip? How do we soften the edges just a little bit so that you can hear and understand? And that would be, I think that would be the best approach, and the best way that we can help each other. Every one of us has a story, and we want to be able to hear them and understand them and use that knowledge to make the world better. And that ultimately would be what I would like to see. And I just happen to do it through business.
Well, I know it's working and it's definitely going to make an impact, especially when we upload this on our YouTube channel. So, Catherine, I want to thank you so much on behalf of
Thank
SETSI. We
you.
want to thank you for gracing us with your time, your presence, and with your knowledge and wisdom. And, when it airs, people will also be, really take notes, really, really let this sink in. If this is your line of work, please take notes and let's build together and make this place a lot better.
Absolutely. We're all human and we all want the same things, which is to belong, to be included, to be loved. And you know what? It doesn't matter where you're from, what country, what corner of the world, what level you're at. We all have the same grassroots foundation that we need. And we can do that. Like, that is possible. It is possible. We just have to believe in it and take the right actions.
Absolutely. That's an awesome ending. So we will also end the way we began by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So once again, Catherine, I thank you so much for all your knowledge and wisdom, and I can't wait for it to upload.
Oh, thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure, and it's been a great opportunity, and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. So you have a wonderful rest of the day. Stay warm until we meet again, hopefully soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Okay,
All right.
dear.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.